Kia ora rā e te whānau. Hei tīmata ake I wā Tākai Kōrero I tēnei rā, I te wā o te tina. Me karakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tona, kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, e hiake ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora. Mauri ora kia tātou I tēnei wā. Welcome to Let's Ruku into Whakatipu. It's been a big journey for the Tākai team to support the reawakening of Whakatipu and all the learnings that we have got from different communities around what else we could do to evolve Whakatipu, the rauemi of Whakatipu. So ko waia hau, ko maraia tepa ahau, ko au tētahi o nā kai kōrero I tēnei rā. I'm Maraia Tepa and I, with my lovely fire, will be guiding you on this little journey today. And I'll throw it over for her to introduce herself. Kia ora whaia.
Kia ora Maraia, mō tō karakia. Kia ora tātou, ko waia, ko te rewari taku wengua, no kōrero rārika hau. And I'm going to be sharing the screen, and as Maraia said, it's an opportunity for us to come together and maybe answer some of those questions that you have as we begin this whole journey of Whakatipu and Tākai into presenting this to our whānau in a way that makes sense for them and is really simple for karo, and they can take it up and make it more meaningful for them as they, you know, raise their pepe.
Ka whai. Now let's get into the whakapapa of Whakatipu. That's what Whakatipu looked like when we first put them out years ago with a beautiful team. We had a beautiful team of, I forgot to say, wahine and community that have supported us to develop Whakatipu, made up of four kaupapa areas, te kākano, te pihina, te kōhuri, me te mahuri. Through this journey, it was a journey around the growth of language. That's where the concept came from, but also the growth of a seed like our pepe. It was awesome to really think about what is it that we also need to support whānau, and that's what communities told us. We wanted things like, we wanted whakatauki Maraia. They continued to say to us, whakatauki, waiata, pūrākau, paki waitara. They wanted to hear what tamariki we're saying, what whānau we're saying at that time and age and stage. From that, this is what our new rauemi has evolved into. From haputana to 5 years, Whakatipu has grown into a space that represents the developing tamaiti and their whānau that are on the journey with that tamaiti mokopuna. We were able to make sure that community told us that what they wanted it to be grounded in te taiao. We introduced kupu cards to build that language, that building language-rich environments for our mokopuna. We wanted to make sure that we were showing real mokopuna and activities that whānau could practically do with the mokopuna. Low cost, no cost at all a lot of the times, and going into your own backyard, getting grounded in that space. So that's what we did. Our kupu cards, again, in every puka puka, you'll have 10 kupu ho that you can use in that development area. It's an awesome way to build our kete kupu for our mokopuna and for yourself. These are kupu that are easy, rongoa, which can be medicine, and katakata, to laugh. Those are things that you do in te kākano, and that while you're hapu, it's like the more laughter we have around mama and her growing pepe, in her kōpū is the best thing for baby and mama at that time. So these are kupu that are associated to that time and stage of that development for whānau and pepe. Te mahuri, we only have one puka puka now. We went from 2 puka puka and we put them to merge them together. You have some real practical activities in there. It's probably a great little puka puka, even better, where you can learn about through play if tamariki are like balancing or walking the line you know, and we talk about, well, that's all about balance and you know, they're little mathematicians, or building a hut. It's all about, you know, construction. It's about maths and stuff like that. So associating play with education. So it's a nice merge of the two puka. We then had a few things that we were really excited about. Go onto our website and see some of these activities and really ruku into them. And there we're showing the waka huia, a bit of history, just like what you have in the puka, but some really good examples. There might be videos, and also there's little kupu there where you can, if you don't know how to pronounce them, you can click on that kupu Māori and they'll pronounce them for you. There's heaps of little activities that you can do. So we're really happy that we can share whakatipu and the evolution of it today. And a big mihi to everyone and where they're coming from. Ngā mihi kia koutou. As you know, we have within our sections of whakatipu, we've woven together child development, parenting, mātauranga Māori. So we have a section around Pepe says and what whānau says. Kaitiaki Pepe is an introduction into tikana, even whānau tikana. Not too heavy, keeping it light. Ngā taona tākaro Māori, in that space you'll learn waiata and practical activities for whānau. Ngā tohu whānau again is about our 6 principles that guide us and our mokopuna to grow into thriving whānau and tamariki. And of course, our paki waitara. These will all feature in whakatipu. So for now, I'm going to leave you there and we're going to ruku into the play, because this wānanga for 1 hour, we're going to actually do some activities. So let's grab our Te Kākano booklet. Tēnei, if you don't have it, kei te pai, because we're going to guide you through some practical activities I te rānei. But if you have it, grab it, or don't forget, you can order it online. Ka pai, I'm going to throw it over to you, Deb.
Kia ora Mariah. So we're looking at a simple activity, and for those of you thinking about a waka huia, is just a container that is used to store a person's most precious taonga. Well, in the context of what you are working with whānau, we have a tissue box, and you can use a whatever you like, maybe an old shoe box. I mean, I don't buy shoes, or I don't get shoe boxes anymore, so these are really tissue boxes, or if you can get shoe boxes from the shop, well, then maybe they'll give them to you. And also what you're doing is recycling. So this is a great thing for whānau and really simple. So I think you take some items in that are really precious to you, and it could be something simple like driftwood that you found at the beach, and you're putting them into the waka huia. Could be a large marble. Again, these are simple things, and what we can begin to demonstrate. And I also have a pūtangitangi, which would introduce music or waiata. So remember to use these simple items and to introduce the process of play. Or you could use a kite. And luckily I have friends who do rāranga. And so the ability to actually bring a kite into the whānau space, to be able to talk about it, and have things like shells, which you can again introduce about te taiao and going out to the moana, so that our mum is already thinking about how she can, or the whānau are thinking about how they can go out into the natural environment and connect in that way to items practically that are there. And so as you can see, there's 3 shells here, and they go from small to large. Well, in this context, you can actually use them as seriation as the child grows and develops, so that they begin to learn from small to large. But for this purpose, all it is really introducing some of these concepts to whānau, and just having them in your kite to take to whānau to share. I also have a shell, which, you know, they can put up to their ear and listen to. But again, sharing this with whānau is that opportunity. A candle. And I mean, these are simple things. Somewhere in here, I have a feather and a stone. Again, celebrating Te Tai Ao and looking at that. And we know that when whānau are out in Te Tai Ao, it actually activates the pleasure centers of the brain. This is research, that's evidence-based research that's been done, how when we're out in nature, it actually activates all the sensory system, but also makes us feel better once we're outside. So I think that's an important message that we're sharing with whānau, rather than telling them to take baby out for a walk. What we're doing are introducing concepts or things that they can do to not only help for them, but also for Pepe. So yeah, that's just two simple activities that you can introduce into whānau. And these are all readily available. Not so much the kite, but certainly that. Also, within the puka puka, what you will see is that it gives you really clear instructions on how to make a wakahuia. And this is really cool because you can take these items with you when you go to visit the whānau, and you can actually help them make one, or you can provide the resources and get them to make one. So you take the resources in, you make one for yourself that you might gift to somebody, and also the whānau are making their own. And the pride that people feel in making their own rauemi cannot ever be discounted. They just feel a sense of connection to this. And quite often when I used to do this activity as a parent educator, a lot of the whānau would say, I'd go back on the next visit and they would say, oh, look, whā, look what I made. And they'd be so proud of themselves. And then they would talk to me about, you know, the importance of play and how the baby was interacting with the rauemi that they'd made. And that was really key, because it's sort of like why we want to introduce this concept is so that mamas and whānau begin to see how simple play is, and that whole introduction of everyday activities are available within that whare. And so that is the key for this. And however they want to decorate it, they decorate it themselves. So kia ora.
And that's the great thing about Te Kākano. It's from conception to birth. And that's the stage that we're at the moment. So making a whakahuia, you can even let them write, you know, that little tissue box. Actually, if it becomes a wakahuia treasure box with their memories of what it's been like in the first trimester, their second trimester, writing little messages for their Pepe. So when Pepe grows up, they have their little wakahuia box. It's a nice taonga, as Whaia Deb said. However, if you're in a group situation, you can take that little kete that Whaia Deb had with all the pohatu and shells and candles, and as at a group level, what you can do is you can get everyone to pick a taonga out of the wakahuia. So they can pick a taonga and you have a question for them. It could be a question like, pick a taonga that reminds you of your favorite time that your best favorite whānau memory, or person, the person. So pick a taonga that talks about, that really reminds you of a person in your life that guided you on your journey. So having a kōhatu like this, so at a group level, that's something that you can do. So that's wakahuia. So when you're doing whānau journeys, working with one-on-one with whānau, you can do what Whaia Deb said, decorate a box and put some taonga in that will activate that conversation and tākaro and play. But also at a bigger group level, that's one way you can do whakawhanaunatana is through a wakahuia activity. Put it in the middle of your room and get everyone to pick a taonga and give them one question. So that's wakahuia in action from our beautiful puka puka te kākano. So we're lucky we can, hopefully that's some good ideas on how might you activate some of this kaupapa, ka pai. Our next kaupapa that we're going to play with is ori ori. I'm going to get Whānau to start this up.
So ori ori, the term that's often been described to me about ori ori is an ancient lullaby, even deeper than that. They said what I've been told is it's like an ancient mōtiatia. Different iwi will have different descriptions about what an ori ori is, but again we're trying to make this really practical and reachable for all whānau. Now ori ori, whenever we sing to our pepe, either in utero or when the baby is born, we know that there is certainly evidence that when you sing to a baby in utero, that actually they remember that waiata when they are born. And what actually happens is that some parents have used the same waiata to actually settle the pepe. So this is really cool to be able to get parents to actually, or get the whānau to actually begin to start practicing, you know, waiata or ori ori. And look, it can be as simple as you can make up your own ori ori. It doesn't have to be a long-winded thing. It can be just something connected to the baby's name that you're bringing in. It can be something connected to how mum is feeling about the impending birth, or papa's feeling, or the whānau feeling, all of that. So bring everybody in. And what an opportunity for the whānau to actually compose their ori ori together. And so if they've got older siblings, then draw them in so that they feel like they're a part of this process too. So ori ori, they don't only give us the lyrics to sing by, but also the pitch and tone of our voice is what the baby is actually, or the pepe is actually connecting to. So we know that 10 weeks prior to birth, the baby can hear it in utero. And so we know that singing and playing with the baby whilst in mama, you know, this is a way of connecting. What we call a tuning to or attachment process is a way of us becoming closer to the baby, closer to the pepe, and also encouraging all the whānau to connect with that pepe in a way where they're not only uplifting themselves, but they're feeling a sense of connection to this pepe that is coming into their lives. Now, when I talked about the tone and the pitch of the voice, having ori ori that are fun and happy is a really good way and an opportunity to again release those happy hormones. Often people say to me, oh, what if I'm tone deaf, fire? And I just say, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter, just sing away, you know, because it's that tone and pitch of voice that everybody connects to, whether you're tone deaf or not. Just get whānau to sing. And the way to get whānau to sing is if we take these waiata that are in te kākano into the whānau, in Tākai and Whakatipu, to take them into the whānau first. And we have to, as whānau kaimahi, feel confident enough to sing a waiata in front of the whānau, because you're not only introducing waiata, you're introducing a vocabulary. And so this is something that is really special for us to be able to do with our whānau at this particular period of time. Kia ora.
And that's the beautiful thing about ori ori. And remember, ori ori is part of the kaitiaki pepe, a taster of tikana Māori. But it doesn't mean you don't have to, you have to write or compose your waiata I roto I te reo Māori. You can write it in any language. I'm going to give you some examples. I've got a mokopuna, his name's Kahutea, and I have a little waiata that I sort of just make up for him. So this is his Māori version when he was growing up. Kahutea, he tama piri pawa ki tōna mama, au e he tama mene mene e, ko kahutea tērā. And you can just repeat it, simple as. Or one song that him and his mum used to listen to when he was hapu, when she was hapu, was Roots Rock Reggae from Bob Marley. So it's like, kahutea, my boy wonder. Kahutea, my mokoa tahua. So using waiata tunes that are familiar to you, it's all about waiata. As you could see, I was a bit witty in the voice, but it's all good because Pepe knows your voice from when Pepe was in utero, when mama was hapu and Pepe was growing in her kopu. So now it's, and so even though I can't sing that well, Pepe will think, oh, my nanny Maya, awesome kai waiata, just like Beyonce. So whether you're Bob Marley in your mokopuna's life or in your tamaiti's life or in Pepe's life, just try it. Whether you're just putting aroha or you are my sunshine. Oh, that's a beautiful one. It always makes me happy when I say you are my sunshine. That becomes your whānau oriori. And whether it's you are my sunshine, it's keeping it simple for whānau. Let it be something that they can achieve for themselves. They might even have their own whānau waiata, their favourite waiata that they're listening to right now and say, oh, this is going to be our oriori for now until we write or design our oriori for our whānau. Ka pai? So good activity to do, simple, and is also great for our mokopuna and their whānau. Ka pai? So 2 little activities. We're going to go and introduce a new kaupapa in Whakatipu, which talks about tōku reo, tōku ohoho, my voice, my awakening. This is a new kaupapa area within Whakatipu. And this is where baby wants to know a little bit about themselves, and whānau can also have a chat. So Pepe, this space is about how did you find out I was joining our whānau? You know, who was there? Who what was the first thing you made or brought me? What kai did you like most when you were hapu, mama? So it's a real nice reflective space for mama and the whānau to just write little kupu. And Pepe says, and we've done it in the Pepe's voice because it was actually quite nice, where you're sort of journaling for yourself. Pepe says, in the first trimester, give me 5 kupu that tell me how you're feeling, whānau, in my kaitiaki in the first trimester. And they might be harikoa, happy. They might be scared. They might put kupu whānau. So when Pepe grows up, they can actually go beside their mama and look at their puka puka and their whānau and look at the puka puka and say, is that what you were feeling when I was in your puku, mama? You know, all those beautiful things. Who has been beside you while you've been hapu? Really important. Who are the people that will be beside you, mama, and guided you and supported you? And writing people's names down is awesome. So you don't forget people that have been on that journey with Pepe and the whānau right from the beginning. So tōku reo, tōku ohoho is at the back of our puka puka page 44 and 45. And it's just a reflections page for whānau to, this is something that if you're going into kaina, something that you can take into the kaina and that you can work through, or the whānau can just reflect on, and if they want, write a few kupu in. Ka pai. Well, that's basically a quick how-to, but we're going into the best part now. It's our paki waitara. Now I'm going to throw it over to Whaiati.
Kia ora Mariah. So paki waitara, and thinking about paki waitara, we know that the Māori creation stories is really speaking to us about the role of atua in the physical realm. And so bringing these pakiwaitara to life is an opportunity again to introduce this cultural frame to our whānau in a way where they feel connected to it. So I want to share this pakiwaitara. And again, for our whānau, our kaimahi, that opportunity to go through it and read it, and look to invite or ask them that maybe there's another pakiwaitara from their own particular hapu or iwi that they may want to share. Or is there another one that they think is more appropriate? But in this instance, in Te Kākono, this is the one that we have. And it is from Tāne, the story talks about Tāne Mahuta and the creation of the first woman. Tāne Mahuta, the god of the forest and birds, decided one day that he wanted to create people to walk on this earth. He searched land and sea and finally went to his mother, Papatuanuku, for advice and knowledge. Papatuanuku told Tāne Mahuta to go to a place called Kurawaka, for it was there that her blood had flowed into the ground when she and Ranginui were torn apart. There he would find the earth essential to creating a wahine. Tāne Mahuta journeyed to Kurawaka and found the red clay that Papatuanuku had spoken of. From the clay, he shaped a female body. Then Tāne took the body in his arms, pressed his nose to her nose, and breathed life into her nostrils. Her eyes opened and she sneezed. Tihei mauri ora, let there be life. And so as you can see from the way that I read it, I'm using a lot of expressive language. Again, it's like utilizing the voice, the pitch and the tone to actually engage our whānau and our pepe into what we're reading. Now, this just makes it more inviting for the child, because if I just read it like this, Tāne Mahuta, the god of the forest and birds, as you can see, the different pitch and tone. So it's using that invitational language to actually draw people into the pakiwaitara that speaks of it in an exciting way and a playful way. So yeah, kia ora whānau. You know, when we think about child rearing and growth, child rearing processes and growth, they're all linked to the creation whakapapa. It's the same process. And this is why we have to celebrate our pakiwaitara in a generic way, but also those ones that, again, I want to reiterate or reinforce, the ones to ask the whānau, are there any pakiwaitara that you have from your whānau, from your hapu, from your iwi that you want to share? And so using the puka puka to actually, you know, you've got some reflective places and maybe writing in the pakiwaitara that they want to have. This is an opportunity to make this puka puka more usable, friendly for the whānau, so that they can put their own notes on it. And this is the benefit of them keeping it within their whānau. So they can refer to it, they can reflect on what they've been sharing and saying with the kaimahi whānau. This is their opportunity. Kia ora.
A cool thing about this pakiwaitara and all pakiwaitara is the other meanings behind it. And on the screen, you'll see that this pakiwaitara reminds us of the importance of belonging to a whānau and community. Tāne Mahuta needed a community to ask for advice from people with experience and knowledge. He went to his mum. And this in Te Kākono, it's from conception to birth. It's about asking the people that, you know, if you've got a midwife, a tākuta, whānau, what is it like to have a pepe? You know, I'm hapu. I'm not too sure what are the right questions to be asking. This is my first time to be a mama. So never ahakua iti he pounamu. Remember, even though small, it's a gift and it's a taonga, whatever you ask. And to value and respect wahine. And reminding whānau that this pakiwaitara is about learning is lifelong. We're going to jump into a little activity because we can. So I want you to think about a kupu, one kupu that you want to give to Hine Ahuone to support her in her journey as a wahine and possibly a mama, as a young woman. So e te whānau, we're going to give you maybe 10 or 20 seconds, ne? And when I decide to say, yeah, that's enough, think about one kupu that or one value that you want to give to Hine Ahuone. Ka pai? So with activities like this, whānau, you can do things like that. You can be quite creative. Read the kōrero, read the pakiwaitara, and then get the whānau, the parent or whoever you're working with or supporting, or your own whānau, get them to think of one kupu, one value that they want to share with this tamaiti. It's a really awesome way of using pakiwaitara. And if you want to be really creative and you're working with more than one whānau member or in a group session, you can use this and get some Play-Doh and give a piece of Play-Doh to each of the people in your room and say, oh, I want you to be the waiwai, the leg. I want you to be the left leg, the right leg, the ringa, the torso, the tinana, the mahuna. And then divvy it out and you get them to sculpt what Tāne Mahuta did with Kurawaka, sculpt their new parent. And you can have a pātai as like, okay, what is the gift you want to give for a new parent? So they might do one kupu, but what they're doing is they're creating with Play-Doh a person all together. And then you just play with that and support whānau to do that. Once they've finished that, you can get them to go through the Play-Doh and start putting down that Play-Doh. Here's my left leg, and this is about maurito, being strong, rooted, but being supportive. I want to be a supportive person. So he might have a big hand. You might have a short, a big waiwai. Remember, parents and whānau are not equally the same. And it's a nice activity that you can do with Play-Doh. And then you can get them to breathe life, like we're going to do with this activity. So I want us all to close our eyes and look at all the kupu that we've shared. Beautiful kupu that we've given to our Hine Ahuone. I want us to breathe in, haki roto, haki waho, haki roto, haki waho. Then I want you to put your finger on the screen and say, si hei mauri ora. Anō? Si hei
mauri ora.
Ka pai. And it's a simple way of how you can use activities like this. Now you've seen how we've done it online. Imagine what it could look like when you're doing it kanohi ki te kanohi and group sessions. And all these activities are on our website. And just have a play and make them yours. Be creative with our whānau because our whānau are creative. Ka pai? Well, whānau, as we said, this was going to be a real quick session and we were able to share 3 cool little activities for you. And remember, if you need to order whakatipu, go to our website and order more whakatipu for you. Start playing with it. Get to know whakatipu. It's awesome. And it's not just from me, it's actually from whānau and community that have said it. So a tino big mihi to you. Now, this is a time when you might want to ask us some questions. Oh, look at those kupu. Aroha, poi poi, waiata, kata kata kaha, wairua, mana, aroha whānau. Heaps of kupu that we gave to support that. Oh, and here's another paki waitara. So in all our Whakatipu booklets, you will have a paki waitara that will support journeys. Pick a paki waitara. Now, we've made sure that our paki waitara are non-iwi specific so that everyone can have a part. However, in your community, you have your own paki waitara. So find those paki waitara that you know the whānau love, and share it with them. It's an awesome way to bring kōrero and kupu, building that kupu, their kete of kupu, new kupu into their world. It's awesome way. So here we've showed you all our paki waitara and our puka puka. Pai. I might ask you, Whaia Deb, we've taken hinenaro miharo out of Whakatipu. In the old versions, we used to have the amazing brain. And why, do you know why we've taken it out? Share with the whānau why we've removed that.
Well, I think we look at the whole process of what we have in a cultural context, and it's interwoven into everything that we do. So it's not like it's a separate thing to be talking about the brain, but the brain is interactive along everything, like I was just talking about the paki waitara. We're talking about activities that we play, rauemi, like everything that we're doing is actually interlinked to things that are happening within the brain. And so our tupuna never looked at anything as being separate. They looked at it as being the whole. And I was just thinking of something that I read recently, in terms of, waitau is likened to pure as the energy of a newborn. And it's the closest energy to Io. And if we think of it in that context of how important our tupuna perceived, the growing of the pepe inside mama, we knew why they valued these processes so much. So yeah, let's not separate out the brain or the neuroscience, because I think, we have neuroscience junkies. It's actually part and parcel of a whole lot of different specialties like child development, all of those things. But we're building this context of a cultural context, and I think that's what the key is knowing and understanding that our tupuna understood the brain as a living dynamic that interacted with not only our physical well-being, but our spiritual, our emotional, everyday activities. It was part and parcel of who we are and how we grew.
Whaia Deb, thinking about sometimes we go into kaina and you can feel the wairua is a bit tricky, something might happen in the morning, especially in te kākano and stuff. How do we keep how do we bring in taonga like Whakatipu when you can feel a wairua that's not a good wairua in the house? Something might have happened the night before.
So I think it's always important for us as kaimahi to acknowledge whānau exactly where they're at, and just ask how much space have we got to bring this in. It's not ignoring, but I think we have to be really, the way we can emotionally regulate a process is actually being there without our judgments. And when I say that, we are all going to have judgments, but actually, are we okay to park them up? And, some whānau are really struggling with activities or just seeing what the benefit of these things can do. But actually, it's important for us, we're in the whānau because there's a baby in the whānau. And so for us, it's really important to be able to build the relationship with the skills and the knowledge that we have, and then be able to what I call carefront. Carefronting means that we're not confronting people, but we're actually finding an opportunity or an ability to be able to front in. So asking questions, open-ended questions like, so, you know, I'm seeing that, you know, things are happening here at the moment. Are you okay to share with some of that? If they say no, so, okay, how are you feeling about me being here right now? You know, using all these open-ended questions in a way that actually invites whānau in rather than puts up a barrier. And we'll have, you know, a multitude of questions that we can ask, but it's not to flood it or to try and make it something that it's not. If we go in there and we're really happy and we want to spread the love and the joy, that's cool. But actually, if the whānau are not there, then we have to sit there. And another thing for kaimahi is to, you know, you have to be comfortable with discomfort. And so part of that being comfortable with discomfort is maybe sitting there for a little while and doing, even if it's a silent karakia to yourself. And the only time I say get out of the situation is if you're not feeling safe. If you're not feeling safe, then you have to find a way to exit from the whānau by, again, being respectful and responsive to what the situation is. But if you can sit there with the discomfort of feeling uncomfortable until the mum is ready to talk. And I know when that situation arrives that people feel your authenticity. And this is what the key is. They feel that you are genuinely there because of them and their pepi, their whānau. You know, you're not there to tell them what to do, but you're there because the fact that they've invited you into their home is really key for this. And to make it work, you actually have to build the relationship from their strengths. And we're not looking at weaknesses, we're looking at their strengths and their ability to be able to share with you what they're thinking and feeling is actually a strength of that whānau. So yeah, kia ora.
Pai, Hannah's got a beautiful question. Some whānau struggle with visioning activities when they are focusing on surviving day to day. Any recommendations on how do you navigate activities like wakahui activity? The wakahui activity, a way you can do it is you can pick a taonga, get them to think of that pātai, and they don't actually have to share it. So they hold that taonga, and when you've done, and it's actually a silent one, so you can take that taonga and you get them to think of that person or that mamae or something, whatever, and you can just get them to hold the taonga. And when they're ready, what you can do is like, okay, we're going to get you to paki it out. And you do a paki. That's one way you can do the wakahuia activity when whānau are struggling to vision, you know, visioning their activity or activities like that. Or you can keep the question real simple and say, you know, if it's a whakawhanaunatana, you can just say, oh, pika taona, and then just so that you can hold for the day, and that can be the modi for you for the day. Just hold it all day. And then you can, and it doesn't have to be anything. And you can then go into something like, you know, what's your favorite ice cream, or what's your favorite, I don't know, car, whatever the kaupapa that you think, you know, that they love. So that's one way you can do it. Have you got any ideas, Vaiti?
I think it's actually being with them and meeting them where they're at. And so it's not, you know, it depends how the relationship is. Like, I'm noticing you look a bit sad. Is there something you want to share? And if they do that, then, you know, maybe that you begin to go off track. So if you want to bring it back to the pepe or to the raueme that you're trying to get them to vision, ask them, how do you think baby feels when you're feeling this way? And it's not that we have to be joy, joy, happy, happy all the time. It's just getting them to reflect upon, this is where I'm at. Oh, actually, how do I increase my own reflective knowledge about how Pepe must be feeling when I'm feeling this? Because, you know, that's a great opportunity to begin to start talking about the environment and how that's actually helping to shape, you know, babies' own understanding through their sensory system of what might be happening to mama or the whānau at this particular period of time. We can't resolve anything, but just asking them, are you okay if we move into the rauemi? You're asking them so that they set the pace. It's not like, well, I'm here to do a job and this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, are you ready for me? No, it's about, am I ready for you and where you're at? And we can acknowledge all of that and then keep inviting. We have to keep inviting them, because what we want them to become more reflective about is actually, if this is what's happening for me at this particular period of time, what's happening for the Pepe? You know, and sometimes in that silence, you know, maybe asking them or inviting them, do you mind if we just sit here in silence for about a minute? I would like to do a karakia. Would you mind if I shared it with you, or do you just want me to do it silently to myself? Again, what you're doing is permission giving to them. You're in their whare and you're giving the permission back to them. And so we can keep introducing these concepts, but finding a way to do it in a respectful, honouring, and responsive way, so that, you know, we're going and acknowledging that there's some, you know, some tension maybe in the room, but actually we're bringing ourselves into the process. Ka pai?
Ka pai. Well, whānau, tēnei te mihi kia koutou katoa. Janine, thank you for that real good reflection, because it is about keeping Pepe at the centre, as Whaia Deb has put right through her kōrero and today. E te whānau, Whaia Deb, tēnei te mihi kia koe, kia koutou I haramai to everyone that came and joined us on our 1 hour around how might we use whakatipu, and let's get plain. I te whānau, tēnei te mihi, titia te nākau, titia ki te manawa, titia nā mahi o whakatipu ki te whatu manawa, ki te wairua, ki te ao. Noho ora mai whānau, hei kona.